tala malu e hau whanua Iwa ihi e motunga motua Kau whakame i te matala no ki hono tukunga Si o ta whanua mo hono whaunga Ke tulo umo e tala malu e hau whanua Iwa ihi e motunga motua Kau whakame i te matala no ki hono tukunga Si o ta whanua mo hono whaunga O ka pohau e katanimua Pea lalanga he tuka i oruna A e toka tuka tupu a pea hiri o hono kau mua ka hapu ka whi A karu mei mua He whakui a ki hatau whatunga moe a mata Lalawa o tama e hono ka wha Kau haka he langi he ma i mo tuku whanua E walau kau haka kuonga O ka pohau e katanimua Pea lalanga he tuka i oruna A e toka tuka tupu a pea hiri o hono kau mua ka hapu ka whi A karu mei mua Kahine pe'i he kamai
Hi friends and welcome. My name is Donato Fatuesi and this is Kurry Talks. At the start of every episode of Kurry Talks, we open up with a land acknowledgement. And just the other day, a friend of mine asked, why is it that Utopia tends to do land acknowledgements before every event, every meeting, and all of these wonderful things that we as an organization do? And the answer to that is, as Indigenous people ourselves, we have very unique, special, and spiritual ties to the lands in which our ancestors were raised. And so we understand that it's important to give the reverence and the respect to the Indigenous communities in which we currently live, operate, and take resources from. And so today, I'd like to acknowledge that the land in which we're filming on is the lands of the Coast Salish and Duwamish tribes. To pay real rent, please visit realrentduwamish.org. Hi everyone and welcome. Again, my name is Donato Fatuesi and this is episode 4 of Kurry Talks. Tonight, you will get to meet Ruby Fuala'au. She's an up-and-coming filmmaker and she's here tonight to share her story of how she's been impacted by COVID-19. Join me by welcoming Ruby Fuala'au. How are you? I am wonderful. Oh my goodness, it's so amazing to see you again. And to hear that you've added up-and-coming filmmaking to your resume of all of these wonderful things. Tell me about that, girl.
Well, as we know, like I have worked on various projects in different realms, from Lifalanga to Tipai Moana, and then just creating social media content that I love.
Yeah.
But now I want to tell the stories behind those looks. I want to tell the stories behind those posts. And, you know, the stories behind organizations that do so much for people.
Yeah.
The hard work that isn't seen. I want to use what I know, what little I know, to, like, you know, create those spaces where they can, and also, like, help with funding as well.
Yeah.
You know, to continue the work that I do.
I mean, you say what little you know, but for anyone that knows Ruby Fuala'au, she has been doing such amazing work over the past decade, being the founder of her own Polynesian dance group, to creating online virtual spaces like Fuala'au that brings trans individuals from all across the nation and the globe, really, to talk about issues that impact them in their daily lives. And how wonderful is it that we get to have you on Kurry Talks? Feels almost like a full circle thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
It's great to be here.
As you know, Kurry Talks was created to help communities come forward to tell their stories and how COVID-19 has impacted them. Over the last year, you recently moved here from Hayward, California, just before the pandemic hit, right? What was that journey like for you? Or what is it that you would like to share with our viewers tonight?
Moving here wasn't a past this summer thing. I've never wanted to move away from here. So I've always wanted to be here, be with my community, be with my family, my chosen family. But having to take care of my parents is a real thing for me and a lot of other people. So that was that, and now she's unleashed into the world, girl. Yeah, so I seen my opportunity. I guess summer last year was my opportunity to, to break out of prison. Just now to just like finally make the move after years of just visiting for the pageant or whenever there's an event.
Yeah.
And I loved it ever since. I loved every moment since I've been here.
It's so wonderful to have you back, and that we get to utilize all of your wonderful talents and your skills and all that you have to offer. It's just been so truly profound, and you've been part of the organization since its inception, and this is probably feeling like a true homecoming, for you, of course.
It's like nothing special. Like I just like, oh yeah, she's just back.
Special.
I was just back. I just gotta like be with the girls. I love it.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to have you. You contracted COVID-19 shortly after you moved here.
Make it stop.
Right. And I understand you put together a little video to share about what that experience was, because you were documenting that experience for yourself. And we're going to play that here for you in just a moment. But before we do, what do you want our viewers to focus on before we start this video of yours?
I would say when I contracted COVID, more than anything, my mental health was at risk the most in my own experience. Just not being prepared, not being educated enough, about it, that it was, I feared it more than, a lot of things, which I know now, I should be that, but also, not to the extent of where I was going in mentally. Thank goodness for these people here in Utopia, and, just also frontline workers that, that are at these facilities that, take care of people that are isolated. And I would just say try and look for outlets that you're able to just let go of some of those, if your mental health is what is the word?
Yeah, when
it's affected. Yeah.
Right, because when our mental health is compromised, it's hard to see things clearly.
Oh yeah.
Right?
You don't even know it's compromised.
And sometimes we're not noticing the effects that it's having on ourselves, the way people see us, right? People notice when our light has been dimmed just a little.
Yeah.
Right? And so Ruby has put together a very special project to help folks understand what that experience was like for her. So sit back and enjoy. We'll be right back.
Why would you think I'll save pictures like this to send you? So I'm just going about my day, getting ready to work from home. But I know I was doing something on the computer. And then it was 9:30, and I decided to check it. And lo and fucking behold. Here we are. Roger Stone's claim that he was in the Fuala'au Veavea, helping to coordinate
Like I was like mentally like I don't even know what that feeling is. I don't even know, like I honestly can't even say like what I was feeling because it's foreign. I've never felt that shit happened to me, and I've worked for other companies where it was just like help you feel better, but also you don't have any sick time, like, are you sure you want to, like, use your PTO? Like, what the fuck is that the first thing on your mind? Like, and I'm so glad, like, this happened to me, and I was here. I was at this safe haven. I was not, like, I was shocked. Just, like, everyone, Nato, Taffy, Diana, all of them, AG, Tweety, Jaren. Like, it was so much, like, that they could have done that most people probably would have done. Like, why would you risk our lives and not, like, not being more careful or none of that? It was, I really hope you feel better. Like, if there's anything we can do, please reach out. It's fucking amazing. Like, I literally am like, who the fuck are these people? And like, this is how humans are supposed to be. And if so, why aren't the majority like this? I guess I say all that just to say I'm super grateful. You're fucking amazing. Like, truly.
Good job, Ruby.
Welcome back, friends. Wow. Ruby, how long were you quarantined for?
I still am. No, it was sweet.
Wow, that was a very, very deep and personal portrayal of the experience that you went through. And I'm so grateful, and I'm sure everyone can agree that you were able to share that very personal journey with us. Thank you so much. There were times definitely in there where it seemed like the situation was helpless. What was that like for you?
I guess in those moments I was able to call up people.
Mm-hmm.
Like having just that outlet.
Yeah.
It helped to just feel like, no, you're not you're not isolated in a way that takes you to places of like feeling left out, feeling left behind, those feelings. It brings you back.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
As a coping mechanism.
As a coping mechanism,
right?
definitely find an outlet. Like, I'll say sometimes to my brothers, like, hey, if you need to like vent to a stranger, because that's the only person you can look in the eye and tell your story to, do it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not harming anyone, do it.
Yeah.
If it's helping, do it.
And it's interesting too how you mentioned like anyone that would pick up.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because sometimes we're feeling so alone and we're reaching out, we're calling.
Right.
Right. And for someone who may not understand what you're going through, it might be easy for them to just ignore, right? Silent.
Right.
And not get back to you. And sometimes that's a real thing, but understanding that sometimes when people are reaching out, you could be the potential lifeline.
Right.
So
Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone.
And then when they ask you for a favor, then hang up.
Then hang up.
Once you know they're okay, hang up the phone. But no, yeah, definitely pick up your phone. Like, yeah. Your perception of a person, could be the total opposite of what, I think a lot of people think one thing of me because I come off as, someone who's, will just go and go and go. And I know, there's a lot of stopping.
Friends need
my strong friends and siblings and, just amazing strangers out there who listen. That's how, Mary. That's how.
That's how, yes.
Yeah.
And since then, what month was this again?
This was in October.
October?
It was my last day of quarantine was Halloween, I think.
That's right.
Yeah, my last day of quarantine was Halloween.
I remember that night. She was like, hello, it's Halloween. I go, yeah, you're quarantine.
I just got out, you guys.
I was like, stay at home, Ruby. No, but so much has happened in your life since then. You're now working on these wonderful, amazing projects, and it's so exciting to see, a sister winning, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so walk us through that journey. COVID, bad experience, you just moved here, and filmmaking, hello. You all just had a sample of what Ruby's working on, and I'm sure there's other projects that are in the works. You probably aren't even allowed to talk about right now.
Girl. There's millions involved,
But can Kurry Talks get the exclusive 411? Walk us through that journey, Ruby.
What I'm doing now in my young life is what I should have been able to do. What I not playing victim, but also yes, I was very much a victim. I think everyone is in their own little lives that they live. There are things that I'm doing now that I would have loved to do at a younger age if I was allowed to. And
it's completely real. It's we can't dream to be something that we can't even see for ourselves. Might be possible. And you mentioned not having the opportunities even or the access, but some things even and I'm gonna speak because we grew up in Samoa together, right? Just things were out of reach. There were not a lot of programs or resources around filmmaking, or that kind of stuff. So I completely understand what you mean.
Right.
And now that you're able to give yourself that permission,
go
to pursue what you love, you are here doing it.
And I think I think it's that I'm at the young age where I can just be no one's telling me no. So I'm just doing all these things that I can do and that I feel I'm good at, that I feel like I've always been good at.
Yeah.
And just honing in on my craft. Hey Netflix.
Hey Netflix, give us some Netflix money. We've got a movie to make.
Okay, I'm catching up to you soon.
But we are all cheering for you, Ruby, and we're so proud of what you are working on, what you've accomplished for yourself. And we have a little game that we're going to play when we come back from this short intermission. So please stay tuned, and then we'll be back to play a quick game with Ruby to win some sanitation supplies to keep safe from COVID, and then we'll go into after. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, friends. Typically, we play play rapid fire questions, but we're gonna switch things up a little bit today because it's Ruby.
Oh gosh.
So
Simon Says.
no, we played Simon Says once before, Ruby, and you're not very good.
It's the rebel in me. I don't follow.
I love it. Instead, what we're gonna actually play is the Whisper Challenge. And the way that the game is going to work is Ruby is going to put on these headphones and they're going to play some pretty loud music. And I'm going to read a list of words and she's going to have to try to get as many of them accurately within the next 30 seconds. So Ruby, are you ready?
I'll never be.
So, best out of 30 seconds gets to go home with this lovely basket of PPE and hand sanitizer. What was that?
Did I get it regardless?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But can you just entice me and play the game with me? I need some friends.
I'm competitive. I want to win.
Okay, alright. So, music is on. Can you hear me? No, okay, so get ready. We're gonna start. I'm gonna count down to 1, and then the timer will start. All right, ready? And
Purple Rain.
Marlboro Light.
Marble Lights.
Am I singing
I
too
kind of
much?
I kind of heard you.
Okay. Platypus.
Platypus.
Illinois.
I can hear everything you're saying.
Oh my God.
Sesparmo? No bueno. Les bueno. Les buenos. Los buenos. Los buenos. The other word. Oh, disposable. I kind of heard you.
And your time. Oh, that was so fun. Ruby, it has been such a pleasure to have you on our show today. Let me put this back on.
Please do.
Oh.
How dare you make me yell like that?
If you ever yell at me.
Less miserable.
Our first word was actually desperado.
How?
I don't know. Well, it was fun. Regardless, like you
I
said.
was like getting frustrated.
Well, you still win. You get to go home with this basket full of PPE,
Oh, thank you.
makeup, and hand sanitizer.
Yes.
All of the things that you'll need to keep you and your family safe at home.
Oh, thank you.
It's been such a pleasure to have you on tonight's segment of Kurry Talks, Ruby.
I love being here.
Yes. And up next, friends, we have Ask the Doctor, so don't go anywhere. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night. So what are you doing nowadays? Oh my God!
Good evening, folks, and welcome to Ask a Nurse this evening. What a wonderful show that was with Ruby, the Ruby edition. We called it the Ruby edition. I remember Ruby, going through the COVID symptoms and being in isolation. I'm so glad that Utopia Washington was there in her journey when she was in isolation, and we were able to support her and also to document her story. It's very, very powerful. She is a super talented person, and very, very creative. Every time I've had the privilege to work with her, and just seeing her ideas, and she thinks out of the box. She's just amazing, talented, and we are just so blessed to have Ruby in our community. Thank you, Ruby, for that. For sharing your story, and sharing how vulnerable, how sensitive that time had been for you. I hope you are doing well, and hope to see you soon. Well, for Ask a Doctor or Ask a Nurse this evening, we have none other than our own, our very lovely Arizona Veavea. And she has 20 years plus of experience as a registered nurse, and she has worn many, many different hats, including an educator in American Samoa, a nurse case manager, and a mother of 2 fur babies. So we are super excited for Arizona to join us. But before that, prior to that, I have some announcements for you all watching Ask a Nurse this evening and Kurry Talks. Thank you so much. I wanted to say thank you so much for being such loyal fans of our program. We encourage you to like, subscribe, and also to share. Feel free to share this segment on your wall, and share it with family and friends, because such great stories plus such interesting things will be answered tonight and in the previous segments as well. So if you have any questions, please don't forget to put it on a comment box, and we'll try to get your questions answered this evening. Also, I have another big announcement to make, and I'm really, really excited, and I'm going to invite all of you and your friends and your family, everybody in your household, to celebrate Transgender Day of Visibility, which is tomorrow. So Utopia Washington and the Tautua Trans Leadership Cohort, which is run and led by our fabulous leader, Ara Lay, they have put up a virtual fashion show. Oh my goodness, I've seen little snippets of it, and it's amazing. I can't wait to watch the whole segment. It's worth it. It will be worth your time. So if you are free tomorrow evening, I think it's at 6 p.m. Oh, 7 p.m. So it's at 7 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Join us, and we'd be happy to show you our fabulous the virtual fashion show. It's called the Transpire Eleganza. All the garments were made by hand by our amazing cohort members. So don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. here on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. And if you're going through the YouTube channel, we encourage you to go through the YouTube channel. You can like, subscribe, and share. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share any of the programs that we broadcast on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Without much ado, I would like to invite our fabulous, our beautiful sister, registered nurse, Arizona Veavea. Good evening, sis. How are you?
Good evening, Diana. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, the pleasure is all ours. I see that you have a little baby.
I know, right? They wouldn't leave me alone.
Why would they leave their mom alone? They want to take some camera space as well, I guess.
They want their 15 minutes too.
Yeah. So how have you been?
I've been well.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing out of the ordinary, except trying to stay away from people for now until, all this is blown over, I suppose.
So you're only entertaining 4-legged beings?
Yes, and
okay.
Only close family members. That's about it.
Okay, no strange 2-legged beings.
No.
Near you. Okay. Noted. Until all the vaccination is done and we get back to normalcy. Now,
Yep.
I know that you work in critical care, and you get some of the worst COVID cases or situations where people end up in. Arizona, this evening, I would like you to please speak about your experience with this critical care, patients and the critical care folks that you take care of. What is it like when somebody is diagnosed with COVID-19? Number one. Number two, when they end up in critical care or ICU, intensive care unit. Um, can you share some experiences from what your team does and
Okay, so
how also some of the things that you've seen with patients as well? I mean, what is their situation?
normally when critical care receives a patient, a COVID patient especially, normally the thing that they would look out for is the respiratory system. And usually, when the respiratory system is compromised, then they would have to go through certain procedures like uh, something we call intubation. If their oxygen saturations are too low, usually anything under 90% is not good. And
Mhm.
sometimes we look at the signs and symptoms that the patient is displaying and to see if we need to assist them, with the oxygen levels. So if the traditional conventional ways of administering oxygen is not working anymore, like administering oxygen, supplemental oxygen, if that is not working anymore, then we would have to intubate them. Now, this procedure is where we put a tube down there um, into the lungs. So it's very, very uncomfortable. Usually, we do not do this when the patient is conscious. So we normally have to sedate them and sometimes paralyze them, until the tube is down. And even throughout the entire time that these patients are on the ventilator, we need to keep them sedated because it's going to be very uncomfortable to have these patients conscious and feel the tube down their throats and everything else that we're doing. And usually they are unable to speak, so there's a lot of apprehensions when they start waking up and they, become conscious and things like that. So normally respiratory rate or the respiratory system is what we try and tackle initially. And then, of course, there are other things, ABC, airway breathing, circulation. It's usually the heart. We have to monitor the heart throughout the entire time. And we usually treat them symptomatically. So now COVID is a virus and it's not a bacteria. So normally we do give antibiotics, and that's only if it's a secondary infection or we're suspecting a secondary infection. Now, antibiotics does not work on viruses, it only works on bacteria, but we do give it sometimes, not all the time. And then there's treatments for viruses like remdesivir is another medication that's been popular that they use. And sometimes the plasma is another treatments that they commonly use for COVID patients. Other than that, we usually treat the signs and symptoms.
And could you speak about some experiences that you've seen of patients? I'm sure when they're coming in, it's a very turmoil time, and also ending up in intensive care. It some of them may have a lot of fears as well.
Mhm.
Um, Also, are they conscious? I mean, most of them are conscious, or are they go into a coma or something?
So unless the patients comes in and their symptoms are not too bad, although they can be in the critical care unit, but it doesn't mean they're that bad that they need to go under, all these complex treatments. But sometimes they are conscious and alert, and they're grateful and thankful that they are. But if we need to put you under the respiratory machine, we do need to sedate you. So these patients are not conscious at all. They,
Mm-hmm.
unless we start weaning off the medications, we feel like they're doing better or improving. And this is based on the tests that, we do daily and every minute, every second that they're in critical care, because you have to constantly monitor, everything and make sure that they don't have anything that complicates, their way to recovery. So, and yeah, it's a lot of fear when you cannot speak or anything like that. But there are some forms of communication when they are conscious and they can tolerate what's happening, then they
Mm-hmm.
can write it down, on a pad, you know, their needs and concerns.
Mm-hmm.
With COVID, because family are not able to be with them, so it's a little complex. Because usually a lot of people, especially Pacific Islanders, yeah, they rely on their families
Mm-hmm.
for that that social support.
Yeah, it is. It is actually very, just by the sound of it, it sounds very sad. And you deal with that day in, day out. It must put a lot of burden on you, and also a lot of stress. How are you coping up as a healthcare professional?
I think um I think initially when this virus first came out, because there was lack of information, that was probably the only time that things became a little complicated, because you don't know what you're dealing with. But with all the information that we have now, it's not that bad at all. It's making sure that you have your mask on and all those protective equipments, then you're good. Like, sometimes I think it's gullible that people complain about wearing masks for 15 minutes when nurses and physicians in the field wear it for 12 hours, sometimes a lot longer than that.
Hmm. Yeah, you emphasized on the point that I, as a COVID-19 response coordinator working in community, actually have to deal a lot with, which is not just lack of information, but too much information, and sometimes too much information that is misinformation or disinformation. So,
Yeah,
it all revolves around information.
I think the question about facts is being questioned in this country. Some people in this country quite literally do not know, the differences, in the statement within the realm of empirical facts and what's not a fact. They don't know the difference sometimes. And that's because there's all this information that they're looking at, and somehow they're not, trained to see what is peer reviewed, or something that is really based on facts, and something that is based on opinions. A lot of the times people think that an opinion is a fact, but they're two totally different things. And that's why all this misinformation is out there.
So, Arizona, for those folks who are watching us tonight, and for those folks who may be watching us later, what advice do you have for them to, if they want to source out information, scientific based information, where should they be looking at? Like, for example, should they be looking at a phase group, a phase group chat on coronavirus, or maybe Department of Health, or CDC? Which one? I mean, a lot of, because our attention is so much derived towards social media now, and social media has all these different kinds of groups, which may look very nice and fun in the beginning, and it may look, it may serve some of the things that you believe in, and then you get into those groups and you get caught up, and then they feed you with lies, and they feed you with conspiracy theories, they feed you with misinformation, disinformation. Where do you think our folks should listen or should go to for up-to-date scientific based information if they want to, about COVID-19?
Okay, first of all, I think that people should really look at the scientists for this kind of information. They should look at, the government websites, the ones that usually end with .gov, usually those are the more reputable websites. Wikipedia is not a valid website. I know a lot of people tend to go and cite Wikipedia, but it really is not a valid website for information. Anybody can contribute to the information that Wikipedia is putting out there, so it's not valid information. Um, Usually, the scientists are the ones, or the physicians, the ones that have like a lot of background, in the field. If you hear somebody speak of something, then you really need to research those people and make sure that you're getting the adequate information and not just an opinion from that person. And then that person or those people should be citing studies, like real valid studies, and not just studies that only maybe 5 people participated. Those are not really valid studies. But like with the COVID vaccine, right? Like over 50,000 people participated in that. So that's like a large number of people. For you to actually believe that this vaccine is going to work, because all these people were tested and they were good. So yeah, that's kind of my only advice. But people really need to focus and really pay attention, and make sure that they're getting the adequate information. Not everything that you see on social media today, like your Facebook, your Instagram, not all of those are facts. Most of it are actually opinions that people have, and that doesn't mean they're based on truth and based on research and stuff like that.
So to stream down, I think from what I understood is your advice is to go to sites that ends with .gov.
Yes,
So perhaps
yes,
like
yeah,
Washington State Department of Health,
right.
or yeah, or California
If
State,
in doubt, if in doubt, I always go to CDC.
yeah, and CDC. And yeah, and I think also I've read really good research work from John Hopkins University.
Correct. That's
Yeah,
another reputable.
reputable, yeah. John Hopkins University is pretty good. And also from community-based organizations like Utopia,
Right.
where we actually publish scientific based information on COVID-19 on
Yeah,
every Friday.
peer reviewed data.
Yeah, and we extract all this data from CDC or Washington State Department of Health, or sometimes from John Hopkins University, and we publish it and we call it Friday Facts. Every Friday we put out scientific based information on COVID-19. The idea is not to scare people. The idea is to encourage people to be
Right. It's
equipped with
it's the truth.
Mhm. To be equipped with information, factual information, so they can make their own decision and be informed about what's happening with COVID-19. That is our goal with Friday Facts. And also I encourage folks to always look at CDC. Is really really great. And and you mentioned something about the pandemic, and also the vaccine. The vaccine was developed, in about an year or less, but this virus, the SARS virus, has been in around since 2003. So, and what I was reading recently, that scientists and researchers were actually working on SARS since 2003. So they had all this great knowledge, and they had all this data that they've been collecting since then. Because there was another one that I think came from one arose in I think Middle East,
Right.
and in early 2000, and then there was one in Asia, and then we had COVID-19. That
Yeah, so the
originated.
thing about COVID-19, although we call it a new virus, it's a
Mhm.
novice virus, it's not really new per se, because it has existed And that's one of the reasons why they were able to expedite the vaccine production or
Mm-hmm.
testing on the vaccine, because there were already platforms on COVID-19. So all they needed to do was a few more things, and then that was it. So all these viruses are has been around for centuries, and you know.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. I thank you for sharing that. It means a lot when it comes from somebody who's in the medical field. That yes, this research and everything started way back, more than a decade ago, and the what they had implemented, and with the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, there has been recent reports that it's pretty great with the variants actually, and also to reduce
Yes.
the infection rates. So I got my shot in January as part of my work as a COVID-19 response coordinator, and I feel so blessed to have had that experience, because I can't emphasize on this. This is the pathway to getting back. Nothing is going to go back to normal in the next month or so, but
No,
this is the pathway. This is the right way,
we're on our
to
way
get back
there,
to,
hopefully.
yeah, hopefully our lives back. What we have been noticing around a lot, is that there has been a theory that vaccines, okay, I'm being vaccinated, I don't need to wear a mask anywhere more, I don't need to social distance, I don't need to, there's a confusion with folks that, oh, why do I need to continue wearing mask when I've been vaccinated? Why do I need to continue, make sure a good hand hygiene when I've been vaccinated? Why do I need to social distance and not gather in a nightclub, or with friends and families when I'm vaccinated?
So,
What message do you have for for folks who are thinking that and are questioning that actually?
yeah, thank you, Dana. That's actually a very good point. So, normally, even though you're vaccinated, you're covered, that doesn't mean that you cannot carry the virus. You can actually pick up the virus. You don't become sick because you're already immune from your vaccine, but you can still take that virus back home to your elderly parents and give it to them. So you still need to wear the mask. You still need to wash your hands. Very basic. Those are all basic stuff that you can do. And social distance. And that will help reduce, as we've seen now that we have a different leader for the country, now that we've seen that it really does work. And I think that's the most frustrating thing about this whole thing, is that, okay, maybe after the first few thousand people pass away, and then we got all this information, and now we know what to do, and now we're telling people what to do, and they don't do it. That is like the most frustrating thing, because all these other people that have died, like 40,000 people in America that have died, did not have to die. That is the brutal, honest truth. But
Mm-hmm.
because people are cavalier about things, they don't really care. They don't just want to wear the mask. They don't do any of that. So we got a virus that is running rampant. And if you keep doing this, now that we've seen the variants, and that is like the major concern now, are the variants that are mutants. These are the virus tends to mutate if you keep them long enough, like what's happening now. So we got this one from the UK, the B117, and the one from South Africa. Who
And
knows?
one from Brazil is
And
already
one
here
from
in
Brazil. One
Washington.
from Brazil is the newest.
Yeah, we have all three now in Washington State. The one from
Yes,
UK spread
they've all been documented to be in the mainland. So
yeah. It just makes the one from UK has
very
uh,
aggressive.
it's a strain that spreads very quickly, very fast. The one from South Africa is very aggressive, I think the one from Brazil is also spreading very quickly. So yeah.
We might get one, like if we're not careful now, we might get one that the vaccine probably doesn't work for, that particular one. So I'm grateful that so far it seems like it's not based on any testing or anything, but it seems like the vaccine we have now is covering the variants. But
Arizona, the number is 2.8 million deaths in worldwide. You just mentioned, those deaths could have been avoided. 2.8 million deaths. Can you imagine, and folks, can you imagine, those who are watching us tonight, how many people are missing a family member, a friend, that is missing from their dining table, that is missing from their life forever now physically. There's 550,000 deaths. That's more than half the population of Fiji Islands. That's more than the population of Fiji. I mean, half the population of Fiji Islands. 550,000 deaths in USA alone. We have lost so many people. We have lost so many Pacific Islanders to this, to this virus. There have been 30.4 million cases of COVID-19, and it's going up every day. When do we as a country learn? When do we as people in communities learn that now is the time to step up our game, wear masks, and continue social distancing, even though you're vaccinated, because it's not only about me, it's about the people that I work with, people that I hang out with, people that is in my bubble, and people that are in their bubble. So the message is out and loud and clear. Arizona, as a registered nurse, as a healthcare provider, as a community member, is requesting every individual to mask up, continue masking up, because that is, it's proven that mask does work.
It works.
Yeah. Arizona, to that, I want to also put some data out here, and probably you will be interested in this, because we are just learning from Department of Health Washington that because of mask wearing, last year we had 0 seasonal flu illness hospital, 0 seasonal flu illnesses.
Right? See how much that stuff really works?
Yeah. There wasn't, every year we have seasonal flu and we get vaccinated for that. We had 0 cases because of that, 0 hospitalization rather. We had 0 deaths due to the seasonal flu because people were wearing masks, people were social distancing. So that helped. So if we continue doing that, can you imagine what will happen to COVID? COVID won't have any place to go or breed or to sleep. Yeah, so that's a whole thing. We have a question from one of our viewers, and the viewer is asking, what are some serious misconceptions that people have after taking both vaccine shots? Did you hear?
I think the only major misconception that I've heard are probably those conspiracy theories, because I think that's the number one reason why people don't want to take it, is because they think they're going to be injected with some sort of microchip, and the government is out there to monitor where everybody's going, which is ridiculous. Come on, that's not happening at all. That's not true. And I think that is, to me, is the most dangerous misinformation out there, because a lot of people actually believe that.
And I've seen the vaccine, close enough, because we organize some vaccine sites here in Kent and in Washington State. We are continuing doing vaccine sites for folks. We are partnering with City of Seattle to organize vaccine sites. I've seen that the vaccine is very, very tiny. The measurement is very tiny. It must be something to inject a chip through that. It doesn't make sense, right? But it is out there.
I don't understand why these people don't sit back and ask themselves, Well, why would anybody want to monitor what everybody is doing or where they're going? Why? What's the reason? I don't.
We
In my
already have
mind, I can't.
Facebook and we have Instagram, all the social media that folks can monitor each other through. There's no need for vaccines to monitor you.
Yeah, it's like all these conspiracy theories, like
Yeah. And it
lizard
is, it
people
is a
monitor.
conspiracy theory. It should be called out as a conspiracy theory. It's just fake. It's not helpful. It's, it should not be floating around. People should not be doing such thing. The other thing, Arizona, now is happening a lot is people are vaccine shaming, actually. Folks who have got vaccine, I've noticed that people go on their, the keyboard warriors. I call them the keyboard warriors. What they do is basically they go onto social media and they, shame friends and family that they may have known have got vaccinated because they think that they are not eligible. However, nobody knows a person's health condition, their medical records. Also, um, they don't know under what criteria, what situation that person qualified. It's a very personal thing. It's a
Right,
medical.
and they're not obligated to tell them
Right.
anything. They're not obligated to tell them anything. If anybody ever asks you for your health information, you need to remember that those are your personal information. You are not to release that, whether it's a cop or anything of that nature. Those are your information. You're entitled to it, and you cannot give that. Don't give that away to
Right.
anybody, no matter how
Agree.
much they claim that they need to know.
But folks are vaccine shaming others. What message do you have for people who are doing this?
What else can I say, right, Dan? It's like shame on you. Shame on you for doing that. Like, why would you want to do something like that? Do you even look around you and see how many people have already passed away and or people that are currently sick? And another thing, you know, we don't even know what the long-term effects of this virus. I've seen people that has gotten it and after a month or two, they're still really sickly. Like they get short of breath after walking for a short distance. We don't know what the long term effects are. And I think that's a major, major concern for me, as a nurse. Like, what's the future going to be like? This is going to be another additional pre existing condition added on to, things like hypertension, diabetes, and all those other comorbidities. And now we have this to add on to that list. And yet, we don't have any information because, we've only been a year in to COVID-19. So we don't have time to, or enough time to do any long term studies until maybe in the next 5, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And people are
Yeah.
trying to shame others for not getting the vaccine. Come on.
I think that needs to stop immediately. I,
They need
as
to stop that. Like,
yeah, they need to stop. Everybody listening, everybody watching. If you see folks,
yeah, call them out. Call them
call
out.
them out. It's not right. It's not helpful. It's driving people away from getting vaccinated because people are now so scared
Yeah.
that they are jumping
It's
the
so angry.
line. And mind you, in Washington State, the criteria is changing almost every other week or every week because we have more and more
Modifications, right?
people are still thinking that we are still vaccinating the elders, the
Yeah,
65
we've
or
already
something like that.
moved.
That started in January. I want
January.
everybody to please put some time, some time or some thought to this. It all started in January. Now it's the end of March. Most of those elders may have been vaccinated and they're still getting vaccinated and we're prioritizing them. However, the criteria is open to other folks as well. There's so much. I can't go through the whole list, but it's on Department of Health Washington. You can go and see essential workers, grocery staff workers, people who work in fisheries. Essential workers is a very broad terminology. So a lot of people are now eligible. People who work in the grocery store. I may have said that. Oops, sorry. I may have said that already, but yes, they are. They qualify too. And people who work in healthcare. a healthcare provider, or caregiver, paid or unpaid, are also eligible. So a lot of caregivers in our community are not paid. They look after their elders, and they are caregivers though. They do the whole thing, and they do everything for their elders. So they qualify as well. So yes, please stop shaming people, but encourage people. If you really want to help folks who are struggling to get vaccinated, find community-based organizations who are helping in signing up those folks, rather than vaccine shaming folks, because that's not helpful. We need to get as many people vaccinated, to curb the virus, and to help fill up those slots. But the president has committed to that by the beginning of May. Anybody in America will be eligible to be vaccinated. So I think it's very, very important that we focus on that and getting more people vaccinated. I think with that, I will take another question. Is she from? I think it's our typical, we have a typical way of, finishing our Ask a Nurse, segment every session. I think after a certain time frame, this program that we use, it just freezes. So we hope that our sister would come back. But she is there. Hi.
Sorry, my phone actually died, so I just changed to my iPad.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're back. Actually, this is such a wonderful conversation we are having, and such important, discussion that we're having. I just want to remind our folks who are watching that tomorrow we are celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility. Trans women and men, their day of visibility. Utopia Washington is a trans-led organization. We serve gender diverse folks in Washington State. We do a lot of work around COVID-19. One of our major work recently has been, signing up folks for vaccination. We organized a vaccination site in February, and we got the second shot that was specifically done for, our community members. We got 158 folks vaccinated from our community, and beyond as well. Right now, we are working with City of Seattle, and we are trying to sign up folks that are eligible for vaccination. And if you are finding it difficult, you can call me directly between 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday to Friday only, on 206-653-1944. 206-653-1944 is the line that you can directly contact me, and I will try to help you sign up for a vaccination. You'll have to, of course, tell me that you're eligible and under what criteria, and I will try to find you a vaccination slot. We have 3 locations. One is in downtown Seattle. That is at Lumen Field. It's a mass vaccination site. I think they have a capacity of vaccinating 20,000 people a day. Then there is another vaccination site at Rainier Beach, which is the Atlantic City boat ramp. And we have one location at West Seattle. So you can actually have a choice. You can choose between the 3 locations. Also, when you choose one of the locations, you get an array of times to select from. So different time slots, different day, and we'll try to fit you in the day and time that works for you. So please do not forget to call me on 206-653-1944. Spread the news. It's for people who are eligible under the current Washington State Department of Health eligibility criteria. Please follow that and call me if you are eligible. Remember, healthcare workers, caregivers, if you're looking after elders at home, you are also eligible. Educators are eligible. essential workers are eligible. So please, if you fall in any of those categories and more, you can find the full list on Department of Health, Washington, and do call me and I will try to help you between 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Yes. Are you going to Arizona? Join us tomorrow for the Transgender Day of Visibility celebration. You know, Ara Lee is our leader. You know, she's leading a Tau Tour trans leadership cohort. She's so amazing. She brings a wealth of freshness into our team. And she's done this, she's coordinated and created this Trans by Eleganza, which is a fashion show. I'm super excited about it. Are you going to be free to join us tomorrow evening?
I will, of course.
You will, you know, it will be worth every single moment that you will spend with us, because these girls have made their garments all by their hand. And it's going to be at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Everybody can join us on Facebook, on YouTube. If you're joining us through YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And you can also do the same with our Facebook page. I have one more question for you, Arizona. This is again from one of our viewers, is asking, will people need to get another vaccination shot for the newer variants of COVID-19 that's coming around? Maybe a booster or something. Maybe later. Is there some studies about it?
Oh, for now, it seems like whatever variant that we're having right now, it seems like it's covering it. I mean, maybe further down the line, maybe a booster, but for now, it looks like it's covering. So I think it's also important for people to remember that the goal is to get at least 75% of the population vaccinated. If we do not reach that 75%, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And 75% because 75% we will be able to achieve that the herd immunity. So that's going to be good, right? Even if we get more than 75%, that's even better. But if we get to 75%, then we should be able to achieve herd immunity. If we don't get it, then all this stuff that we're doing right now is going to be a waste of time.
Yeah.
People need to remember that.
Mm-hmm. So, folks, you've heard it there from a medical professional. Arizona, has made it very clear that we need to get up to 75% of folks getting vaccinated in our state, in our country, so that we can, turn this around, this mess that we are in and that we've been in for a year. So,
still in this.
Yeah, I think it's time we all buckle up and use common sense.
Tired of staying home.
Yeah, use common sense, wear mask, encourage your folks to wear masks, even though you're vaccinated. It's a good thing that you got vaccinated, but please continue wearing mask, because there's so many things in the air that you don't want to catch. Not COVID, but there's so many other viruses around, right? You don't want to catch that, so it'll protect you from everything, or most things. So continue wearing masks. It's a good practice. I had traveled to, I remember traveling to Asia, in Hong Kong, and in for work, and I saw people wearing masks there, all the time. They were just wearing masks all the time. It's just such a great practice. It wasn't hurtful. It wasn't like they were not creating any drama. I was shocked to see that. And then I learned that they just don't want to, they want to avoid viruses. And it's a good practice, because I think they had SARS at that time. And it was just after that. And they continued to wear masks even after the virus had already gone. So it's a really good practice. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't, it doesn't really stop people from breathing. Some may have medical condition and exceptions.
Put it that way, it's not going to kill you.
It doesn't kill you, but COVID and viruses can kill you.
It will.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Arizona. It was such a great pleasure again talking with you and chatting and getting all our questions answered. We are so blessed to have you in our team and in our community. You bring so much light and so much good information to us. We are so blessed to that, to have you. And also, thank you so much from the bottom of our heart, from Team Utopia Washington. We want to thank you for being so kind enough and generous enough with your time. I know that you work so hard in your field. The last thing that you want to do is to talk about COVID again. But you do this and you take out your time every month. You've been doing this for a couple of months now. And I can't express how much we feel blessed to just have you and bring this wealth of information to us. Thank you from the bottom of our heart, from our executive director, Taffy Johnson, from our program director, Tapper, and our operations director, and our Curry Talks host, Donato. She's a superstar. She just celebrated her birthday. I should actually wish her happy birthday. We did a big celebration for her yesterday in the office. We surprised her with a luncheon.
That's nice.
And yeah, she's amazing. We're so blessed to have her. Yeah, she brings so much joy and so much radiance to Curry Talks. All right, with that, I would like to sign off and thank you so much for all the viewers who are watching. Shanil from Canada, from Vancouver, BC, thank you so much for tuning in every month and being such a loyal fan. I can see you commenting. Shanil is a relative and he's always constantly watching the work of Utopia and he's a big fan. Yes, and he's very, very handsome actually. He's my cousin. And yeah, also I'd like to thank everybody who has tuned in and is going to tune in later. Please don't forget to share, subscribe, and like our page, and we'd be happy to bringing you more and more content about around COVID-19 and other things. And don't forget to join us tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. You can't miss this show. It's just too fabulous. Thank you. Bye-bye and good night.